Hi, my name is Jatarrikah Settle, and I did my senior research project on the effects of stereotype threat on academic performance in student athletes. So let's start with some background research. Originally done by Steele and Arison in 1995, stereotype threat theory is a social, psychological threat that arises when one is in a situation or doing something in a domain for which a negative generalization about one's group that they identify with actually applies. So the original study was done using racial stereotypes, and they found that African Americans perform worse on academic tasks regardless of the difficulty level due to stereotype threat. Further background information. So the dumb jock stereotype. We see that the dumb jock stereotype is taken up by athletes as they're often stigmatized with an identity that questions their academic competence, integrity, and promotes an egotistical, aggressive attitude that could potentially result in poor academic performance. Previous research found that dumb jock stereotypes are commonly held by other students and faculty on college campuses by athletes. This was done by Sales in 1993 and Enstrom and Sedlak in 1991. To the right, you see one of my favorite dumb jock stereotypes that's commonly found in media. Further background. So we have student athletes and test performance. Student athlete stereotype is a conflicting identity since it embodies two very unique identities. Students are supposed to excel in the classroom while athletes are supposed to excel in competition. This identity is stereotype because it's difficult to find the balance between the two identities that require both surplus amounts of time and dedication. Therefore, student athletes are often stigmatized to do worse academically. Yop and Prentice analyzed the effects of stereotyped identity salience on academic task performance in student athletes. Therefore, they prime student athletes with their athletic identity, their student identity, or no identity, then ask them to answer a sample math questions on a short math exam. Their results found that student athletes primed with their athletic identity, in fact, completed significantly less problems and reported lower academic test scores in comparison to those primed with their student identity and or no identity. Piggybacking off Yop and Prentice's study in 2005, the current study hypothesizes that student athletes primed with their academic identity perform better academically on the short math exam in comparison to student athletes primed with their athletic and or no identity. This is because being confronted with the math exam should lead participants to think in terms of their identity as a student rather than their identity as an athlete, in turn causing them to show higher levels of academic performance consistent with this identity. So our participants included 30 student athletes at Mount St. Mary's University. The student athlete sample included both males and females who participate in D1 men's and women's basketball, women's soccer, track and field, and club volleyball. Random assignment was done between each prime condition, so there will be an equal number of males and females in each condition. Our materials. So the first material we needed was a pre-test priming questionnaire. This included both a word filling task and an area where they could explain their last stereotyped experience. So example of the word filling task is to the right. We see the word basketball, which will be for the academic prime group, and they would just simply have to fill in the word basketball with the correct letters. Or we see the word pencil for the academic prime group, and they would simply have to fill in the word pencil with the correct letters. Our materials also included a 5-question post-prime math exam. These were SAT type questions with medium level difficulty and required no calculator, an example of which is to the right. Lastly, we needed a timer for the math exam since we didn't want the exam to take longer than 10 minutes. Our procedure. Participants were randomly assigned to a prime condition, athletic, academic, or no prime. Then participants were asked to complete a pre-test questionnaire which included 5 half-completed word-filling words and to write about their last experience associated with their prime identity. An example of this could be if you were in that academic prime group, you would be asked to write about your last testing experience, how it made you feel, how you felt throughout, what grade you got, and how you felt after, to further induce the prime that we were aiming for. Lastly, Students were asked to complete a 5-question math exam with SAT-like questions to measure their academic performance. This was followed by a debriefing session. Our results. A 2x3 two-way ANOVA was conducted to analyze the differences of the interactions between prime groups and gender. The advantage of using an ANOVA is that we could test more than one independent variable at the same time and examine interaction effects between gender and prime type. Our ANOVA revealed that the interaction between gender and prime type was found to be not significant. F with 1 in 28 degrees of freedom equaled 0.713 with a p-value of 0.405. Results also showed no main effect for gender as well as no main effect for type of identity prime. As we see in figure 1 to the left, however, even though our results were not significant, the academic prime group scores slightly higher in comparison to the athletic prime group and no prime. The academic prime group had a mean of 94 with 9.66 standard deviations, while the athletic prime group had a mean of 92 with 13.98 standard deviations, while the no prime group had a mean of 86 with 25.03 standard deviations. So even though our results were not significant, the academic prime group did score slightly higher in comparison to the other two groups. Our discussion and implications. So our hypothesis that student athletes prime with their academic identity will perform better academically on the post-prime math exam in comparison to athletes prime with their athletic identity and their no identity was not supported. This is in contrast to previous research, Yock and Prentice in 2005, whose prime methods were identical to our current study and analyzed similar tasks to measure academic performance. Therefore, an explanation for the lack of significance may be explained by the difficulty level of our post-prime math exam. Was it too hard or too easy, or did the participants we have just simply have differing math levels? Although the questions on the math exam were taken from a medium-level SAT question website, the SAT is ultimately a high school exam, and this exam was given to experienced college students. Therefore, increasing the difficulty level in the exam could have provided for better results. We also note the presence of external factors that could have potentially impacted one's identity salience. Some of these factors include self-esteem, academic standing, whether one is a good test taker or not, along with many other personal factors that could have altered results. Therefore, we could have improved our priming methods to help control for these external factors. We could improve our priming methods by maybe replacing one of our priming methods with having participants watch a video about their last academic competition or watch a video about students in class taking a rigorous exam to help promote a harder prime and help control for these external factors. One last thing that we noted was that men's basketball performed better overall in comparison to the other sports. Our other sports included women's basketball, women's soccer, volleyball, and track and field. These 4 sports have in common that they all have female representation. Therefore, this may explain potential gender differences when inducing stereotypes. Since females may have a higher level of self-regard and care more about their social identities in comparison to males, they could have been impacted by stereotype threat theory harder, and therefore this could have altered our results. Conclusions. We cannot conclude any direct causations between priming stereotypes and academic performance due to many existing outside factors. However, it is known that tasks that clearly favor one identity over another can increase the presence of the prominent identity. Our future research suggests by simply flipping the stereotype identity that we chose to analyze in the current study. In this study, we chose to analyze student athletes, but tested them more so on the basis of their student identity. Future research suggests maybe priming student athletes in similar ways, but seeing how the priming impacts their athletic competition rather than their identities as students. Future research also suggests taking the next step and actually analyzing these gender differences between stereotype threat theory and priming. And there's our references. Thank you.